It's a pretty day. Foggy, snowy, icy. It's not optimum to go out in my car and go out on an adventure, but who says that we can't have a daily adventure in our own homes? And that's what I want to do. I want to take advantage of this afternoon and film the most requested video that I've ever got. This was the video that I get requests for on a day-to-day basis, and that is going to be a tour of not just my candle collection, but my studio. My studio is where I filmed countless amounts of my own candle evaluations. It's where I've hosted all of my live streams since day number one, but it's also the place where I play. It's my little personal museum, and it's where I work. And I want to officially invite you guys in the doors. We'll poke around and I'll show you the things that I truly love to surround myself with. Hopefully this will evoke some nostalgia and maybe illustrate a little bit more about myself as a human being. So let's go inside where it's warm and check out this studio. This is it, first time. Let's go. So this is it. It's small, but this is my office, and you'll notice it's quite dark, and that serves a purpose. The purpose for it being dark is that this is where I edit the majority of my videos, and anyone who's spent time editing footage knows that you need a dark space. I know, it sounds quite lonely and sad and depressing, but it's actually very therapeutic. It's a great way to get lost in the footage that you're putting together. Just to think about all of the videos that I've put together for the Candle Enthusiast channel. Most of it was assembled in this room right here. It's not just my editing suite, it's also a place where I keep all of my camera gear, my equipment for camera, for lighting, for sound, and I have everything organized just the way I like it. This desk where I'm sitting is a mess. It's a disaster. Some would say it's disgusting. I love it. It was the very first desk I owned. It was a desk that I purchased my first year of college to do all of my video editing on, and I felt like it was my cockpit, it was my, my control center. I could never part with it. And so here it stays. This desk has traveled all over the place. And yeah, I could put a coat of paint on this, but there's something charming about its character. Years and years of spilt coffee. When I sit here, it's time to edit. I know it's time to edit. It's time to work. A converted cash box that I turned into a TNT crate. And if anyone can identify the reference, leave that in the comments below and I'll give you a huge high five. Right here I have my 27-inch Imac. Believe it or not though, I don't use this guy that much. I use a MacBook Pro to edit my footage. I've wired all of my father's Christmas villages together. With the flip of the switch, I can turn them all on, really help immerse myself into the Christmas spirit, and I just love having them here in the studio. Now, many light bulbs and fiber optics have burnt out. I do need to replace a lot of them, but this should give you a little idea, a little taste. This collection of villages has, on many occasions, brightened my day with its illumination. Since my studio is adjoining, essentially, with my office, I thought I would build and install this kind of like sound booth, music recording studio looking window that would officially adjoin both rooms. So all of this space is heated, cooled, dehumidified together. You know, my candles are right there, so while I'm editing, while I'm working, while I'm on the phone, I can sit here and see this little world, this little studio that I created from this very small office space. All of the pieces that I used to frame out this window are repurposed, recycled pieces of furniture that my grandfather built. We have my camera bag. If I need to abandon my car and film on the fly, I'll take this case with me, and inside has all of the necessities, every tool, camera, piece of audio equipment, lighting that I need. So let's go back into the studio and take a further look at some of the things that live inside those walls. Ah, yes. The studio, and it is ready to film in. So I'm constantly trying to keep things dusted, trying to keep things tidy, because I do have very valuable things that I keep in this space, including my beloved candle collection. But before we go to the candles, I'll show you some other things. This is the part where you're gonna start to see how much of a geek and collector I really am. I have a whole shelf dedicated to Mary Poppins. Early 90s Disney store Mary Poppins, kind of like Beanie Baby plush. This book was printed in 1963. It's weathered, it's aged, a very old postcard. I thought I'd frame that instead of something that was printed digitally. You have those boxes right above the doorway that light from behind, the shadow boxes. Emily Blunt as Mary Poppins and Julie Andrews. I think there were 4,000. There was 4,000 of these made. I have to make space for Mary, and she sits here on my shelf, a floating Mary Poppins. Huge shout out to Nicole for this ornament from Disney World, I believe. Laura, shout out to you. A spoonful of sugar, retro mug, and I'm so happy because it's in its original case. This is kind of empty at the moment, but I have two puppets, Mickey and Minnie plush. These gloves, if they look familiar, you might be a fan of Disney's Frozen. I finally found someone who could customize these gloves to all of my specific needs for display. So one of my biggest joys in the studio here is this window. Now, I've had windows in my life, but this is a very special window. I've always wanted a window that looked out into the world of make-believe. If I wanted to look out the window and see snow on a summer day, or if I wanted to see a foggy, misty night on a bright Saturday morning, well, I can have that because this is my make-believe window. I can change it and manipulate it. I have a fog machine. I have real and fake vegetation back there that I can move in and out as I please. You know, one day I said, you know what, I'm going to redo the studio. I'm gonna put up new walls. I'm gonna light things a little bit differently, and I'm gonna punch a hole right there. And it's this very small space behind this wall, but it's just enough where I can utilize it to create a little bit more atmosphere in my videos and just day to day when I'm working. It's really fun to have a window where anything outside is possible. I have a wireless controller for the fog machine, so while I'm filming, I can hit the button and just let the fog go and billow up in the window. And if I want some of that fog to seep in into the studio, I can crack that window. I finally have it. I have my window of make-believe, equipped with all of the spookiness my heart desires. Let's see. Over here we have my pretty large television screen, video landscape screensavers. I have an assortment of these: snow falling for winter, leaves falling for autumn. The big collection, I don't even call this a collection anymore. This to me is my Yankee Candle museum. That's right. Because although there are a lot of candles, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say this is a small amount of candles. I have seen candle collections, Yankee Candle collections, that are much bigger than this. But for me, it's not about quantity. It's about, well, what's in the collection? And for me, this collection, what I've put together throughout my years as a Yankee Candle fan, consumer, this tells the story of the Yankee Candle Company. The company's history can be illustrated and told using just these candles on these shelves. So yes, this collection houses everything from the earliest candles from the Yankee Candle Company to things from modern day. Some might say that this was the golden age of the Yankee Candle Company. So even though this candle that I'm holding right here is 21 years old, some of them are much, much older, even though this is 20 years old, honestly, honest to goodness, if I picked this up off the shelf at a retail center, I would not think that this was old, stale, spoiled, ruined in any way. Some of them don't hold up as well as others, but it's amazing the number of candles that actually do. But see, right here we have a black band, but behind it, all of its other versions, you know, we have what I would consider the second golden age of Yankee Candle. This is a 2011 spiced pumpkin. Also a 1980s. Yeah, I mean, this is before they even had barcodes on the bottoms of the jars. So let's say this candle is at least 33 years old. Definitely more subdued, much more aged than the black band, but it still smells amazing and it tells a beautiful story. This is a early 1990s Yankee Candle pillar, spiced apple. Some would say that spiced apple was the very, very first Yankee Candle scent. This is cranberry, and it's a much older pillar. And it's got a little tear in its wrapping, but for the most part, it's sealed. Yankee Candle used to have a written description for all of their scents on the pillars. This is 9 inches tall, almost 3 inches wide. Again, the mid to late 80s. A lot of you folks ask about this shelf, and I understand why. Halloween has unquestionably been a large focus of my Yankee Candle love, and I spent many years putting this shelf together. It has some of the oldest, it has all of the newest, but it's not just about the selection of candles. For example, Witch's Brew. I have the very first release of Witch's Brew, at least in its trademark apothecary housewarmer jar, but I have every other release that came afterward. All the Witch's Brew to modern day, I have right here, every version of it. I always say, collect what you love and tell its story. And in order to tell the Witch's Brew story, I needed to have every vessel. The one that has taken me the longest to find, the gem of my Halloween collection, simply named Halloween. Now, why is this the holy grail of Halloween Yankee Candles? It's simply because this was the first ever Halloween fragrance in the apothecary house warmer jar. There were obviously Halloween scents that predated this Halloween candle, but they didn't come in this jar. All of my candy corns, I am missing one or two, some really rare candles that were not produced in large production. The best example of that is going to be Ghostly Treats from 2013. The oldest Yankee Candle Halloween products that I have are these right here. These are two pillars before the house warmer jar made its debut. You can see they have their written descriptions. Haunted House. The other one is called Halloween Candy, and although they are sealed, I can still make out some of the fragrance, and it seems that Haunted House is an early version of Witch's Brew, and Halloween Candy is an early version of candy corn. Sealed as well. These are from the late 80s. These are what Yankee Candle called Halloween all-night pumpkin lights. These are essentially really large, like votives that you would light and stick in your pumpkin, and just as it says, you have your jack-o'-lantern lit up all night on Halloween night. Top shelf is all Christmas, so there is a method to the madness here as far as organization. In front, you will see all black bands, but they kind of tip you off to what's behind them. If you look over here, these are all white candles. The majority here are snow-themed Christmas Yankee Candles. Like right here, we have Snow Magic and Snow Days. These are two that could simply just be winter candles, but I don't know. I think of fresh snow and snowmen as falling into the category of Christmas. White Christmas in a very early version. Most might remember White Christmas as having the chapel, the church on the label, but it had several different labels prior to that church. This candle is called Song of Angels. It was an exclusive candle made only for the Yankee Candle Village in South Deerfield, Massachusetts. It is this beautiful Christmas time inside of the church, incense, woody, smoky, resinous aroma that is just lovely. And to be quite frank, I can't even recommend another Yankee Candle that smells close enough to this where I could recommend it as a replacement. I have my Yankee Candle pillars over here. Christmas Eve holly berry, 2 holly berries, and this one goes out to Brett Philly Candleman, but this is a bayberry pillar candle. You'll be surprised how many angel themed candles there are. Silver angel, snow angel, angel's wings, sparkling angel. I have them all here. Christmas wreath, mistletoe, and balsam and cedar in the front row. These are all coniferous tree, Christmas tree, pine tree, balsam, Douglas fir, you name it, all pine tree themed Christmas candles that range in age. One simply just called balsam fir was what really predated balsam and cedar. This is the sweet treat section, like Christmas cookie and gingerbread, and many different versions throughout the years. Behind here, different versions of Christmas Eve and Home for the Holidays. If I turn the camera just like that, I recently had to extend the Christmas section by adding a whole new shelving unit. I always wanted to have these together, and I finally do. Sparkling snow, sparkling pine, sparkling cinnamon, sparkling balsam. A lot of you may recognize some of these old Yankee Candles. Some of you may be seeing things like this for the first time. These are Cannikins. Cannikins are just what you might guess. Candles in cans. And Yankee Candle sold these, from what I know, the early 80s up until the end of the 80s. And they were only made, for the most part, with fruit scents, because it's like having a can of blueberries or a can of raspberries, fresh peach, spiced apple. Some came in square boxes. I'll find one of those in a bit. Well, it's not completely empty, but it's mostly empty. But I do have full versions of all of the scents that were iconic for the Yankee Candle Cannikin. Still has the price on the bottom, $8.50, which, if you think about it, is a good chunk of money for, mid 80s. And you might be asking, well, how do they smell? It smells like a fresh peach. Not crazy strong, but it still smells like a fresh peach. It doesn't smell rotten or spoiled or like it's been sitting in a basement, which it probably was, because all of these Cannikins, I never had the pleasure of buying one of these when they were released or available. I acquired these from other collectors and other sellers from all over the country. And I remember lighting several of these. I did one on a live. They actually still perform okay. Not fantastic, but the blueberry I burned, I estimated at the time that it hadn't been lit for 30 years. And it smelled great just sticking your nose in the can, but lighting it actually did put out some fragrance. Not a whole lot, but it did put out some fragrance. These, it took me a long time to find and to actually figure out what they are. They're not apothecary jars. They are from the 80s. They predate the house warmer jar. Someone described this as like a powder room jar, and that makes perfect sense because these were called bath brights. I always wondered, what are these bath brights? And not only did I find one, but I found two, fresh peach and country heather. And I'm so happy to find it in country heather, because country heather is probably the candle outside of Halloween. I have more versions of country heather than most other candles. I have it in so many different forms. This is another very old style Yankee Candle. This, I know, is at least mid 80s, if not older. To me, I think this smells awesome. It smells like you're at an old antique shop and you found a bottle of perfume or a bottle of cologne that's decades old, but it's still got a little bit left in the bottle, and you open it up and you smell it. To me, it definitely, I can't even classify. I think it's just as masculine as it is feminine, but it is this really musky, floral, earthy too scent. And I like it, but I've had people visit the studio here and smell this candle and tell me that it smells god-awful. I don't think it's spoiled. I just think that it's a little bit funky, but I still think it has a lot of its original story to tell. We have fruits, and we have rain, and a certain selection of springtime fragrances. We're not going to go through them all, but again, they all range in age. We have the country kitchen candles from the 80s, the black band jars from the 90s and the early 2000s. This candle right here, yes, that is a picture of me standing in front of a Yankee Candle, actually in Lenox, Massachusetts. one of the earliest satellite stores for Yankee Candle. This was sent to me by Yankee Candle, I'm guessing as a thank you, because I filmed a piece for their exhibit in Manhattan, New York City, called Candle Power, and I filmed a video, and as a thank you, Yankee Candle sent me this jar. The fragrance is, can anyone guess? What fragrance would they pick for me? Well, they picked Midsummer's Night, a Yankee Candle classic, originally released in 1983, if I'm not mistaken. More pillars. This one is Bay Breeze, and perhaps one of the oldest Yankee Candles that I own, right here. This is called Cape Flowers. And if you look closely at the label here, you'll see that these are hand colored with colored pencil. I said this before, but before they were completely printed in color, they actually colored them in one by one with colored pencil. This is a candle from an older time. Edelweiss, which was exclusive to the Yankee Candle Village for many, many years. This one having the full-size label, a black band of Midsummer's Night, and over here we have a lot of nautical, coast, harbor, beach candles. Let's take a look at these wooden cases down here. This is where I keep some of my Yankee Candle artifacts. What looks like a Yankee Candle tart, just an ordinary Yankee Candle tart. But as soon as I put my hands on it, you'll see the scale. This thing is massive, and it has wicks. Let me read what's on the label for you. It says, Yankees 3-wick Christmas floating candle. Float in warm water. This is what's key about this candle. Yankee Candle Company, Holyoke, Massachusetts. Not South Deerfield, Massachusetts. Not South Hadley, Massachusetts. But Holyoke, Massachusetts, which was the original studio for Michael J. Kittredge, for Yankee Candle, for the exception of his mother's garage, as the story goes. The Holyoke studio was in a refurbished or a retired watermill. It's portrayed here as a little barn. It's not the way it really looked, but this was a design, I believe, created by Michael Kittredge. This could possibly be the oldest Yankee Candle product that I own. I need to make sure I take care of that because it is a part of the company's history. Country Spice, Blueberry. Blueberry is important because, if I'm not mistaken, I own 37 different blueberry scents by Yankee Candle. And if I'm also not mistaken, I think that's every blueberry candle Yankee Candle has ever put out. Bayberry from probably the early 90s. For the Halloween fans, I have 2 sets of Witch's Brew taper candles. Now, I don't know if these are older than the house warmer jars. These two look identical, but if you look closely, one has a purplish hue to it, the other has a black with a slight bluish hue to it. Haunted House. Probably just as old, maybe older than the 3-wick floating candle is this guy right here. It's called Country Kitchen Crockery. It's the single wick paraffin candle that comes in this ceramic crock. The fragrance is strawberry, but as you'll see, it doesn't say South Deerfield on it. And if you flip it over, it says Holyoke, Massachusetts. So again, a candle produced in the original studio with the earliest Yankee candles ever. And this guy is still completely sealed. So much so that there's not even an area where I can stick my nose in to smell it, to see how it smells. This is a CD that was sold to pair with an actual Yankee Candle scent. That scent being a splash of rain. It has this translucent wax that gives it a really different look and color and feel than most Yankee Candles. And on this CD is 10 tracks of relaxing spa-like music to listen to while you burn the candle. Great idea, great concept. In this case, I don't feel like it worked out perfectly. I wish Yankee would give something like this another shot. Yankee Candle used to give out matchbooks and boxes of matches with every purchase. There's an assortment here from different times and different places. Most of these are from the South Deerfield flagship store. We have one here that is a Halloween box version. If you look closely, what's interesting is it doesn't say the Yankee Candle Village. It says the Yankee Candle Factory and Country Store, which was the original name of the Yankee Candle Village. They used to produce the candles right there in the village. And before it was known as the Yankee Candle Village, it was known as the Country Store. It was much smaller. It contained at one point a museum of Michael Kittredge's vehicle collection before it became a major attraction for New England. Very interesting little piece. I don't know how I came across this, but I did, I believe, on eBay. Yankee Candle Company Security. This booklet, although it looks very ordinary and kind of beat up and crumpled up, this is something that years ago I would have loved to have gotten my hands on it. It took me years to get one of these. It's called the Yankee Candle Fragrance Finder. Back in the day, Yankee Candle employees had access to these little pamphlets, and inside is every single candle that Yankee had in production at the time and the fragrance notes. It breaks down all of the candles by top, middle, and bottom notes. This way, the employees, the associates at a Yankee Candle retail could help the customers find candles that they might enjoy. I have another shelf of other ancient Yankee Candle finds down here by the floor, where you see there's a collection of candles that I'm looking to put up on eBay to raise funds for this channel. So excuse the haphazardness, the mess. You know, it's a constant process to organize all of this stuff, and I haven't really found a way to display some of the older Yankee Candle treasures that I found. But here's something that is going to be obscure to some, but to me, this was a huge find, a huge discovery. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Many of you, if you scour the internet, you probably find these old dishes, bowls that have wax inside from a Yankee Candle. This one is cranberry, but I'll tell you why this one is important. It has the word house warmer on the side of the box. From the very beginning, from the day I remember ever seeing a Yankee Candle for the first time, I've always considered the jar, the apothecary jar, to be called the house warmer. To me, this was a house warmer jar. Nothing else was a house warmer jar. However, finding this ancient gem has proved that the word predates the apothecary jar. The house warmer was originally this footed bowl. I take it out, but it is sealed, so I don't want to take it out of its box. But it has 3 wicks, and it has this ornate glass that's a very pretty $15.95. So not a small price. Not a small price, considering that, you know, this is probably 30 years old, and, you know, you would probably expect to spend less than $20 for something like this today. A footed bowl, a dish with 3 wicks. Go figure. This little fella right here, if you've seen any of my Santa Santa's Village videos. I go every year and record a video inside the park. It's a theme park in the White Mountains in New Hampshire. If you've seen my videos, this guy has to look familiar to you. They have a dark ride called the Great Humbug Adventure. It opened in the 1990s, and it was adorned, the whole ride. It's a dark ride. You know, you have a little buggy and you drive through the darkness of a Charles Dickens-esque like world. But adorned on the ceiling and all over the place were these handmade humbugs, and they were made by the family who still owns and runs the park. But they've since updated the ride. And when I say updated, they've really refurbished this thing. You know, state-of-the-art technology, animatronics. But this meant taking out all of the old humbugs. So while I was making a video promoting the new Humbug ride for Santa's Village, or in collaboration with Santa's Village, on the way out, they gifted me an original Humbug. As far as I know, and if what they said is true, I'm the only person who owns an actual piece of that ride. It was more exciting than any paycheck or any kind of trophy. This was a true gift. And it's an absolute honor to be able to have this funny looking guy on a stand in my studio. Pretty cool, right? Yeah, come on, it's pretty cool. Humbug. Right on the opposite side of this window that leads to my office, we have my storage shelf, essentially. Now, this isn't just for camera equipment. This is more of my nostalgia, my collectibles, things that I want to display when I'm doing videos. Everything from, you know, a Charlie Brown Christmas tree to authentic replicas of Harry Potter wands from different characters, board games, Halloween board games. I see something here that says Zombie Lab. It's kind of like a creepy crawlers set, you know, like bake your own disgusting goodies. That was gifted to me by Liz from Witch City Wigs. It's a King Kong figure. Norman Rockwell Villages, if you saw a recent video I did in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. It's not organized. It's just a bunch of stuff. Zippo collection. Zippo lighters. I collected Zippo lighters for a very long time. A Halloween mask from my childhood. Just a random hatchet, you know? Why do I have a hatchet? Well, this is the closest replica that I could produce of Lizzie Borden's hatchet. Lizzie Borden, the axe murderess, or accused axe murderess. One of my favorite videos was spending the night in the Lizzie Borden house completely alone, and after that experience, I wanted a replica of the axe that she had used. So I painstakingly found the head of the axe that was similar in every way, and I customized it and put an edge on it. It's not sharp, but did little things to make it look like the real deal, including putting a new handle on it. I have to thank Doug from Spooky Villages for this one. He's a big RC car guy, and I was not. But when I thought about the prospect of putting cameras on RC cars, I'm like, you know, I'm afraid to fly drones. I don't like the idea of flying drones. I've flown them before, and it freaks me out because I feel like I'm going to crash it. But, you know, doing something that's on the ground, much more safe. So I started out with this guy here. I got to a point where I knew that car, it could go fast, but it wasn't steady. I needed something with a little bit more beef to it. And this guy does the trick. It has these massive shocks. I customized it because although I could put a camera, attach like a GoPro on this, you know, the shell is plastic and it's wobbly, you know, so if this is driving over tough terrain, the camera is gonna shake. So I needed to mount a tripod head to the frame of the actual vehicle, and that's precisely what I did here. So I could put a GoPro on this, I could put a pretty heavy camera, a legit camera on here, and get some really fun shots. Yes, I have what appears to be just a random mannequin, but it's not random at all. It's something that I actually put a lot of work into. I have a fascination with Disney. I remember the very first time I saw Beauty and the Beast, I believe 1992, in the movie theater, and it changed my world. When the live action Beauty and the Beast came out with Emma Watson a few years ago, I remember seeing the trailer for the film for the first time and being absolutely in love with the wardrobe. I love costume, I love wardrobe. My brother sent me a video while he was at Disneyland, and they had the actual real outfit that Emma Watson wore on display. And I told him, take as many pictures as you can. Take close-ups, put things in the photos so I can get a scale reference, so that I could zoom in, I could look closely at all the little details, so I could replicate all of the pieces and construct my own version of Belle's outfit from her small provincial town. I didn't make anything myself for the most part, but I did reach out to artist, cosplay, costume builders, and I had all of the pieces made specifically not just to replicate the original costume, but it was important to me that, you know, if Emma Watson were here, that it would fit her exactly. So the mannequin, all of the pieces of wardrobe, they're all measured and made, sized based on Emma Watson's measurement, even down to the boots. If I'm gonna make something accurate, I really try to go all of the way in. Collect what you love and tell its story. It's something that I live by and I take quite seriously. So that's going to just about do it. Hopefully this was a nice condensed version that highlighted all the little things that are in here. But if there's more that you would like to see, if something specific that you saw in this video, please list that in the comments, because I'm always happy to share the things that I have and the things that make me happy. I'm very excited for the future, and I hope you guys are too. Make sure to check out all the different ways you could help support the channel, including my Patreon account. All of the proceeds, 100%, go back into the channel, help us do things, get out and have our adventures. And without your support, I simply would not be able to continue doing this. So I want to thank you for all of you that already do support. I will be seeing you guys soon, but until then, be good, stay safe, and have a great day, afternoon, night, evening, whatever it may be. Have a good one.